Hey guys, this is Language Trek for teachers, and we want to answer to pay or not to pay. That is the question. All right, we're going to be talking about pricing and what that means for your ESL, ELL ministry. Now, some of you might be thinking, oh no, we need to keep it free. And yes, you can promote it as free, but I would really suggest and I request that you say that there is a registration fee. We used to do registration fees based on when they needed a book. So we started it that way. And then I realized, we're a little bit strapped for cash. And we started doing it every single semester. And the reason for this is because our dropout rate is ridiculous. When we have students who first start out, they leave and we ended up having to eat a lot of the cost that they didn't complete. We started out with $20, then we raised it to $30. Now we're up to $40, and I think we're going to stick with $40 for the next few years because inflation kind of has plateaued, hopefully. And $40 really helps to cover most of the book, especially the beginner book. And our budget still pays a little bit more for it, but at least most of the cost is covered. Now, when they pay for 2 semesters, it would be $80, and that's way over what we need. But we also have started to make copies. And to cover the cost of the copies, I'm going to dip into what the student is paying. Also, this allows us to grow. This is something that you do need to consider. I have some programs that are like, hey, we're just wanting to service 10 students. I say start with 20. Now, you may end up with 10. That's totally like a good number, but don't aim for 10, aim for 20. And then that way you have enough resources. You have the books in place. You have everything set for those 20 students if they show up. Because if Maria comes with her 40 cousins, you are ready for that. Now, a cost of a book, if you go with the future curriculum, it's going to be about $44, $44.97, but does not include tax, shipping. If you are a nonprofit, you can get a tax exemption and you just have to turn in your forms and send that in to Pearson. If you are using a different book or curriculum, always ask for tax exemption because you can get that for sure. Now, we like to have a welcome folder, and I have a video on that and what that looks like. Basically, it's has a little bit of more information about our ministry, what are requirements to finish the class, and that has really helped our quality of student. I'm telling you guys, when you have requirements and you're like, hey, this is what you need to go to from one class to the other, it really shows that, hey, I need to work for this. The requirements for us is they just have to complete all the homework. We don't care when they crash and burn, because I have 1 or 2 students that always ends up sending everything in literally the week before everything's due. Technically, they should be turning everything in every single week, but I don't really care as long as everything gets turned in by the last day of class or the week right after. And if they complete all the tests, if they're a level 1 and above. Now, we have a level intro, which is like an introduction class. That might be called foundations if that is part of your curriculum with side-by-side or connectivity. We don't have tests for them. Instead, we just want them to complete the work. They have weekly quizzes. So if they show up for class, they go through those quizzes. But if they skip them or they don't come to class, I'm not going to track them down. It's a beginner class. And that class, though, does have an oral exam, which they can do online. And so we're using Video Ask. We do have to pay for that. So again, those $40 really help us to have some of this online content available to them. And then we don't really have to do much correcting, which is awesome. If you have a budget, you can think of, okay, we need $45. I would round it up to $45 per student. If you wanted to provide the book for free for your students, I would say do $45 times however many, and then that would be your budget number. Keep in mind, you need other things, not just books. That's why it's always nice to have your students contribute something, and also it shows value because they bought the book. They got to complete it now, right? If they decided to just show up and everything's free, then like what's the value? There needs to be a buy-in somehow. And the reason I kind of go back to this is that I used to work for Send Relief. It's now called Send Relief, and you can find more about them, sendrelief.org. But when I worked for my boss, Jeff Palmer, he always had these great suggestions of books that we based our practices for as a nonprofit. And When Helping Hurts is a great book that you can look on Amazon. And the other one is called Toxic Charity. And that's an excellent book that I would recommend you as a director or even as teachers to read and see how you should be applying these principles for your ministry. This is why I don't like to say that the classes are free, because there has to be something that they're contributing. It elevates your classes. It has just a little bit more oomph to it. When you have your welcome folder, I also include the Bible stories that we're going to be doing, so it shows that it has a little more value to it, and also all of the worksheets that we have for the level intro. They're compact into that, and the writing activities for all level 1 and above. That way, you don't have to do copies every single week. It's amazing. It's just a bundle that you put together at the beginning of the semester, and that's it. All you have to do is just make sure that if someone loses their folder, you just have to copy the whole thing, and then you just charge them. I charge them $5. Probably to get everything put together, it's going to be about $3, but just charge them the $5. Now, what's nice about this is if you ask the students to pay $40, in the end, you're going to get $80, right? For 2 semesters, if they continue, you can put that extra money towards gifts. And what's really cool about that is when they finish a level and they get a diploma, I would always give them at least a completion diploma, that they completed everything that you required of them, or they get to receive something that's a little bit more elevated. Because we are a nonprofit ministry, faith-based, I like to have certain books. If they finish level intro, that's after 2 semesters, I like to get them the Jesus Storybook Bible by ZonderKidz. And if you have Spanish students, get the bilingual one. It's awesome. It has beautiful artwork. Yes, it's for children, but some of them have families. And if you're an adult, who doesn't appreciate a really nice, beautiful book that you can read and hopefully follow through? The other thing that I like to do for level 1s, if you have the budget, the Action Bible has a book. They've started to lower their price because they have another version coming out, but try to see if you can get some good deals. It's called the Action Bible, and it basically has the entire Bible in comic form, and that's fun to read. So if I have a student that completed level 2, what I like to do is actually give them a Bible, and it could be ESV, NIV, whatever you are using in your church. Get that, because they're already an intermediate student. And if you can get a bilingual version, that would be even better, because it's, whoa, I can study both. They always get really excited when that happens. I actually found a trilingual one the other day for Portuguese, Spanish, and English. But it worked because I needed the Portuguese one. When you do these milestones, always congratulate your students, always have them. And when you give these gifts, it also shows like the value of like, oh, I worked really hard, I paid, and I'm receiving something for my hard efforts. And so it's always like a payback in a way. Always make sure that you know who your demographic is. There are some really cool pamphlets and other things that you can give your students in between the levels. So if they finish the first half of the book, which was 6 units, give them a certificate of completion, obviously, but you can give them something that is a little bit more not so large. And that could be those study guides. If you've ever studied a language and you get those plastic study guides that fold out, there is an ESL one, there is a verb one, and then there's like another one that works really well for ESL. You basically have 3 opportunities to give these cool study tools for them over the course of 2 or 3 years. Now, when you give these, you can also have a track. So Action Bible has like these really cool tracks for the Jesus story. They used to have a Easter one, and they also have a Christmas one, which is really nice to pair up. If they're more advanced students, then I would just give them something like a cute track. Not cute, but a simple track that is meaningful based on the time of the year. With all this being said, I just wanted to let you guys know that, yes, you can have free classes. We have a church here in Nashville, Tennessee, who provides free classes. But from my understanding, they are desperately always looking for free books, spending hours on hours. And your time is money. If you believe it or not, you as a director, even if you're volunteering, you should think about, okay, I'm spending X amount of time. What if you could be spending X amount of time not searching for books, but actually elevating your program to make it more easier to learn from, or providing other programs, or expanding your program to having a club that would be beyond your classes. And that would be really, really cool. And what a club would be is a time to hopefully study the Bible longer. In addition to that, you can also have games, and it's a little more relaxed place that your students can come and not have to feel like they have to study, but it's something in addition to your classes. We've also used it as a funnel to help students who were not able to get into an actual standardized class or traditional class, and be able to just have that as a stepping stone until there is an opening. With that being said, you can always provide your classes as free. So we always say, hey, it's a free class because our volunteers are free, but there's a registration fee to cover books, materials, and all of that. And they usually understand that. They're just like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. So keep that in mind when you are promoting your classes. And I hope that answers some of your questions about to pay or not to pay. And you want to check out more, please go to thelanguagestrike.com.